Uh, test, test, 1, 2. Check, check, check. Good morning, community of joy. All right. So let's go ahead and get started with our annual meeting. Pastor, I'd welcome you to open us with prayer.
Welcome, everyone. We're glad to have you here for our annual meeting. We're just going to begin with a prayer, and then we'll jump into this thing and share wonderful reports and not take too long so we can get to our meal, too. So let's pray. Loving God, you're a God who's with us, not just some of the time, not just in the easy times, but all the time. And this year, these last 2 years have been particularly unpredictable and challenging and have asked us to think about our lives and our ministries and our connections in new ways. But God, we thank you that you have stayed faithful to us through all of these challenges, that you have continued to bless this community to be a place of love and support, and that we've continued to be able to give to the community around us through who we are together as your body. And so as we meet today to hear stories of ministry, to think about the year ahead, and to think about how best to be your people in this time and place, we just pray that your Spirit would be with us this day and always. In Jesus Christ's name we pray. Amen.
Thank you, Pastor. So our meeting agenda is kind of laid out for us here. We're going to have several different speakers to share just a brief picture of what it is that has been going on even through the COVID times. We'll wrap it up with our voting and announcement with regard to who our new church council will be. So let's go ahead and kick the next. So these are the 3 council members that have accepted the nomination. We do have to open up for anyone that would like to actually nominate somebody from the congregation. So is there anyone that would like to have a write-in nominee? Wonderful. So you've had a chance to read the bios. I'm currently the president of church council and have agreed to another 2 years back on council as part of our bylaws. That's allowable, so that's a good thing. Diane Parham also has done that. I can tell you that she is taking care of her mom right now. She's back on the East Coast, and the move to an assisted living situation is at hand. So she wishes she could be here, but she's here in spirit. So. And then Karen Lanowski. So Karen's here. Wonderful representative of our choir and has accepted our proposal to come on to council as well. So, did you want to say anything, Karen? Very good. So, crash. Yeah. So, the council voting process, we're open to in-person. So we're not going to take any votes from outside, although there are people that are watching on the outside. We welcome you. And again, prayerfully, thank you for participating in everything that we've got going on. But ballots were handed out. If you've had a chance to fill those out, now's the time to vote. And then Jackie's coming around right now. So we'll tally those votes while we're actually putting the meeting on, and then we'll announce the results. She's still towards the back. All right. Oh yeah. So yeah, you vote for 3 at a time. You don't have to just vote once. So put an X on the 3 names that you want. There's still area for write-in, and you could write somebody in if you want to at that point. All right. So as it indicates on there, please vote now when you get your ballot. Next slide, please. So here's my report, and I'm going to have to turn and kind of read this a little bit. But returning to in-person worship, yay, right? I mean, although I did like, and maybe we could do that during the summertime, an outside service once in a while. I think that would be awesome. But we're open to those potentials down the road for sure. Theme for COJ 2022 2022 is plugging in, basically rejuvenating. So I want to give a big shout out to Mark Roussel, who is the former president. And Mark is going to be stepping away from council this year, but he has really put this thing together and really kind of provided a great mentorship to me in the year that I've been on council. So thank you to Mark for sure. Again, being close to Thanksgiving, I have a lot of gratitude to give out with the things that I'm thankful for as being your council president. We can kick to the next slide. Again, just reiterating Mark's awesome business mind and his commitment to our church community. He's an incredible individual. So Lance Himmelberger for providing counsel to the congregation in all kinds of different ways. He actually really helped us through our reworking the mortgage situation and acted as a great mentor in that and was our notary, as a matter of fact. So Jackie Anderson and team for organizing the new color selection for the walls. Our sanctuary is much more warmly received, in my opinion. So, so thank you, Jackie and team. The sanctuary painting team consisted of Daniel Montgomery, Bill Costel, Pete Doles, Dennis Simpson, the Parrott family, and all others who assisted, because this was a multifaceted project. So thank you for that time, dedication, and effort. Return to Worship Committee, Liz Ball, Ray Ament, Daniel Montgomery, Laura Bryant, Heather Himmelberger, and Julie Laybourne. Excellent job giving us some guidance as to what we needed to do and trying to make sure that we were as safe as possible. And I can say I think we succeeded in that. I know this COVID situation continues to exist, but we're going to continue to play by the rules and do what we can to make sure everybody is as safe as possible. So thank you. Big thanks to the Return to Worship Committee. And Erling Schroeder, of course, our church secretary. I don't even know how this place operates without her, because she's got a hand in everything that we do. So Erling, thank you very much. We went backwards. So more thanks, Dick Toole, Greg Quintana, for providing the council and COJ's financial snapshots. You're instrumental in securing our mission investment fund, or our refinance, which has saved us a pretty significant chunk of money. So our mortgage was basically a balloon mortgage set up previous, and it was coming due, and we would have had to pay like $750,000 at that point. And through Dick and Greg's work, and of course Pastor being involved, we were able to contact another source and refinance basically the church's mortgage at a much better deal. I think Greg or Dick can talk better to the specifics of that, but what a relief off of your current president's shoulders when that actually took place. I was like, oh, I don't know how we're going to come up with $750,000. So they did the due diligence and really worked through all of the intricate aspects, and really have put forward an excellent effort to making sure that we can continue to thrive and support our community as we do. So huge thanks there. And of course, Emily Montgomery, our new music ministries leader. What a wonderful voice. So Emily will have a chance to actually chat with you here just a little bit, but I just wanted to lift her up because another huge relief off of your president's shoulders, and I hope the congregation truly feels the love and joy of music here. So she's definitely got that. Soundboard AV team, Kristen Solitz and the AV team. I don't even know all the names that are on that, but great job keeping everything moving. I know you usually have like a weekly announcement when you're here, so continue to do that. It just generates more hope and understanding for all the needs that we have. So, and of course, our beloved Pastor Paul and his family. Wow. Every week you do a great job. Although I'm not able to be here every week, I've listened to a lot of the different voices within the church that are just so blessed and feel blessed to have you here. So to you and Stephanie, thank you very much for taking that call. I mean, so future needs. I want to bring that up. I want to lift up some things. We've been advised that our AC units are aging. We're all aging, but they provide the cool air during the summertime. So that's going to be something we're going to have to take a look at and plan for. We might even throw a capital campaign concept towards the parking lot. I'm not real good at that, so I'm going to ask for some help within the congregation, those that actually have done capital campaigns in the past. If you want to step up, maybe give me a shout, give me some ideas. I know we've talked about maybe having like a thermometer that would be filled up as we go along and then bursting once we get to the top. But what we'd love to do is completely resurface this parking lot that we have. We've put a Band-Aid on it now, and we're going to talk a little bit about that when we get to the financial aspect of what we've already spent. And through a very generous donation, we're able to take care of that without biting into our budget. So having said that, it's just a Band-Aid. There's going to be times where we're going to have to dig a little deeper, make it more of a foundation, and probably redo that entire thing. So I don't know about the number of years it's going to take to get to that point, but I think we need to start planning for that now and preparing for the future with regard to both our AC units and that. I was also presented with an interesting concept, more on the historical side of what this church has meant to this community. And Liz Ball actually, I don't know if she remembers this, but she volunteered to maybe head that. Those that have been in the church for a while, I know there's just a ton of pictures that we would have access to, but building a historical concept, maybe, again, regenerating some of the welcoming that has happened throughout the years that this structure has been here. Just kind of rejuvenating in a time where we can actually come back and be in full voice once again. So I think those are the important concepts that I'd like to lay out for the future. And I think we can move forward. So, pastor's report.
Well, thank you, everyone, for being here. And as we're saying thank yous, we also have to thank Lee for a fantastic year of leadership. Every year has its surprises, but I think it's fair to say the last couple have had more than normal, and just lots of transitions and unexpected things. And Lee is just constantly, what do we need to do? How can we do it positively? How can we bring people in? How can we push forward God's mission in this place? So he's an awesome leader. And amazingly, after this last year, he said, I'd like to be president again. I mean, no one would blame him if he didn't, and yet here he is with just such a wonderful servant's heart. So thank you, Leah. I love getting to partner with you in ministry. One more round of applause for Leah. Okay, so my slides, I'm calling this time a new Reformation by force, really. But we've been forced, not just us, but every church, every ministry to think about who we are in this time and how we do church and all those kinds of things. There's kind of an informal slogan of the ELSA, always reforming. It's something that came out of the Reformation movement, and I really think we've been living by this by this slogan this last 2 years, though in truth we had no choice, but it's been a good thing in many ways that we've been able to. And so, I think at some point in the spring we were talking about restarting our ministries, and I think in many ways we've been able to do that. Not in every normal way, but in a lot of ways. But it's not just a restart to who we were before. We're rethinking our patterns. How do we do things? Are they working? If they're not working, how do we do them differently? Recovering some of our practices. So as we remember, there was a time where we couldn't have done this, and now we are, and we take joy out of that. And then renewing our sense of mission, maybe the most important thing, which we have to do every year and every day of our lives, to think about who are we as God's people in this place and now. But this is certainly a time of reformation. You can go to the next slide. And wanted to talk a little bit about our worship life. I think, as many of you know, before spring, I think it was sometime in early May, we went back to some form of in-person indoor worship. Before that, we've been doing digital worship for about a year and a few months. And the big thanks I want to start with is all of those who helped that happen. And there's going to be too many names to name them all specifically, but our videographers, we had Laura Bryant on there for many months. Debbie Hutton helped us out in that way too. The Silences were almost constantly on sound during that time. We had Emily and Jeremy on music, along with lots of other people who filled in as well. Again, there were too many names to catch them all, but if you were part of that, or even if you weren't, we just really appreciate all of those who helped that happen. And I do want to mention that digital worship capacity. Even though we had been able to do it in some ways previously, we really were forced to learn, all of us, every church, but certainly ours, how do you do this, and what's the technology, and who knows how to do it here, and how can we put that together? And that has been a silver lining in a way, because we continue to hear, it's often invisible to most of you, but I'll go visit a shut-in who's like, oh, I love getting to connect through the digital service in a way they never would have been able to before the pandemic. And sometimes, someone's uncle in Florida. I mean, just our footprint is wider because of this ability. So thank you to everyone who helped it happen, and just all of you by being part of this church that helped that happen. So it's been fun to do that. All the same, it's been wonderful also to return to indoor worship. That started May 9th, and we've kind of been working our way through that. I could say honestly that as a council and just all of us, we're trying to thread the needle between just doing everything normal and pretending this isn't happening, and meeting people's spiritual needs. And I won't claim that's an easy thing to do. And I know all of us have maybe some different ideas about when that should happen and how. But I want to say that you guys have been enormously patient and kind in this. I can honestly say not every church I talk to colleagues is that way. Some people are frustrated, and I understand that frustration. But I thank you for understanding that this is a hard time to be church. It's a hard time to be leaders. And you guys have just stuck with us and been patient. We love the feedback. Whenever you have an idea or a comment, we love that too. But thank you for being such a kind congregation in the midst of all this. And I'll just say at the bottom, kind of going back to the digital thing, we were able to purchase the video equipment. So now we have it in-house and we stream what we do live. So that's been a really cool silver lining again. So next slide. Almost a dozen new members have joined since the summer. That's a wonderful thing. We went through about a year and a half where, quite frankly, it was very hard to grow. It was much easier to lose people because people would move and some folks would pass away. And what can you do except for ride through that time? But we've started to see some wonderful growth, and that's always joyous. We have new families engaging feasts and Sunday school and music and all kinds of stuff, so that's wonderful. We're bringing nine young people to the youth gathering, and we really have to celebrate that as a church. That is a big group for today's world. I was talking to some pastors of the Ilse in our area. Most are bringing one or none, and we have 9 going, so that's a fantastic thing, the outreach we have. And I also want to mention Rose Gainey Graham has volunteered to be our chaperone alongside me, male-female chaperone. So we have 2 adults, and Lynette maybe, we'll see. She's been helping as well with health stuff. She's seeing if that'll work. But in any case, we've had a lot of parents and adults help us with the youth stuff. So thank you for that as well. But really looking forward to that. And, they're going to be bothering you every week for a while as they're raising money. But we know that's not a bother, because the biggest thing we could build at a church is people, especially young people who are still figuring out who they are. So thank you for being part of that support. I reiterate the beauty of the sanctuary, and the thanks to all the people who are involved in selecting colors and helping to paint a big job, and it looks beautiful. And also to celebrate huge responses for our different service ministries. Again, I'm not going to be able to name them all specifically. Maybe Joyful Hearts will get into that a little more, but help to Afghan refugees, Storehouse West, Albuquerque Healthcare for the Homeless, more stuff. This isn't a church where we just serve for ourselves, but we serve outside of our church too, and that's a beautiful thing. Next slide, please. All things new. So we've had some transitions, actually many transitions, but here's a few ones to mention. As Lee already did, we're so pleased to have Emily on taking the lead with our music ministry. She's fantastic. She's such a kind person. She's reaching out to our people, adults, children, really has a heart for ministry, and is fabulously talented musically. So we couldn't find a better person to lead this ministry in this time. So thank you so much to her, and we'll be hearing more from her in a minute. As that entails, Jeremy has also left the position. I think many of you heard that. We want to thank him for his service as well, because he helped us for about 2 years. And a lot of that 2 years was a really hard time to serve, and he was rolling with us with digital stuff. So we really appreciate what he brought to that. I know a couple of you have had questions about some of the behind the scenes. Feel free, if you ever do, to come to me or a council member. We're happy to share a little bit more about that. But we're also very excited about our new direction. We are still looking for an accompanist because Emily's wonderful. She's not really a pianist. And we have Keith Jordan, who's on our interim accompanist, and he's wonderful too. It's hard to find skilled musicians right now, is the truth. And so we're searching for that next thing. The accompanist won't be in charge of planning anything. It's pretty a low responsibility thing. It's basically they show up for rehearsal, they show up for worship. So we're working the system to find that. But I've talked to other pastors, and some of them have been looking for a music director for 6 months and can't find people, just have to get fill-ins all the time. The hardest thing is the planning and the ministry, and we have that, and along with beautiful vocals. We're just looking for that accompanist. So we're continuing on that process, and that's ongoing to figure out how to get our name in there. If any of you ever know of a talented musician, we're probably not going to get a pro for the rate we're asking. I mean, because it's not the full music director position. Professional music people are very expensive right now. They're like $50 an hour. But if there's a talented student or someone who already has another job, and this is a labor of love, they'd like a little extra participation in music, let us know. We'd love to hear leads. Until then, we have a wonderful team who will get us through. And then I also want to mention Pastor Sihombang was that Indonesian pastor who was helping us the first half of the year. That came to us through a committee I'm on through the Synod of Global Mission. He, as part of his assistance that he gets from the ELCA as a doctoral student, needs to be serving within the context of a church, and he had been looking for that. During the pandemic, it worked for that to be us, even though he lived in Denver, because everything was digital. And so he helped us for several months. Now that things have opened up again, the Synod said, well, we'd like him to be physically in a building with a congregation in Denver. So he's kind of shifted to that. I suspect we'll probably see him again, and we really appreciate what he brought. But that's why you haven't seen him in a couple months. He's transitioned to that a local Denver church. Next one's normal-ish worship. I say normal-ish. We're normal-ish in our worship now. I know we're not completely normal. The communion's a little different. We're not touching things as much. We wish we could be normal. The pandemic's still with us. Kids are starting to get vaccinated. Mine got vaccinated last week, so we're so happy about that. So we sure hope we're moving towards it. But that's just to reiterate, thank you for being patient with us. We, as much as anybody on leadership, are excited for totally normal worship, and we're getting closer to that. But I would be a fool if I tried to make a prediction now, because everyone's predictions have been wrong, it feels like. So we just want you to know that we're excited for that too, and we'll follow that as it becomes possible. I think one of our priorities is leadership and volunteers. The truth is that after the pandemic, many of the people who are our leads for different things have had transitions in life, health issues, moves, and a lot of our ministry leads are no longer able to do it or are no longer with us for one reason or another. And so we're kind of running on much more of a shoestring in terms of our leadership. Neil's going to share with you, as she has, she could use people to help with fellowship. We don't really have an events committee anymore. We had someone leading our educational process for adults, and that person has a job on weekends now. And so we're looking for that. I'm not unrealistic that we're having to grow our way out of that, and it may be a little while till we have enough of the fresh energy and people to be able to meet all those needs. But that is an issue, so that we can be able to do more as we're able to do more, and not burn people out who are doing things. So if ever you know that you could offer your gifts in any area where you see someone doing it all the time, feel free to help, because I know it's very hard for those who are in that position right now. And then, as Lee already said, we band-aided the parking lot. We know it doesn't look amazing, but it's functionally a lot better. But as has been shared with all the companies that look at it, after a few decades, you just have to totally gut it and redo it, and that's about $60,000. And so that's not in a year thing. That's a capital campaign that we'll be probably looking at in the coming months. Apparently, Erlene tells us we're on volcanic land and the mesa stretches apart. So it's just something that happens in our area. So we're going to be looking at that in the coming year and really years to be able to do that. My last thing is just further becoming a welcoming, outward-facing community, which y'all already are. But one thing I've been thinking about and reading about is how we're really in this stage where, after so much being rattled and so many challenges, we have to think of ourselves almost like we just started as a new congregation. How do we reach out when a new family comes in? How do they get approached? How do we make them feel welcome? How do they have an experience here that makes them feel like, God's doing something here, and I'm loved and accepted here? I know whenever a church first begins, that's what they're thinking about, and I think that's what we have to think about, because this is the climate we're in, where it's just harder to be church than it used to. But you guys are up to it, and you already have that spirit, and I know we just need to keep on thinking about how we continue to be that community in more ways. I believe that's my report. So thank you again for letting me be your pastor. You guys were so amazing last week with the pastor's appreciation. Generous, kind, all the rest. I couldn't be happier to get to be here, and I know my family too. Sometimes we just say, we love living in New Mexico. We love being part of Community of Joy. So thank you for the honor to do that.
Thank you, Pastor. So, next we'd like to do the treasurer's report, and Greg Quintana is going to come up and provide that. So we've got a budget and concepts.
Thank you, Lee. So for this year, we have results through September based on, and then we're comparing it to the budget into 2020. Overall giving was up, was down $5,300 from 19. So, but through the first after the first quarter, it was little light. Pastor sent out a letter, and there was a special giving that happened in April and May, and about $12,000 to $15,000 came out of that. So that carried us through the second and third quarters, and like I said, now we're $5,300 behind in revenues from 2020. At the end of last year, the PPP loan that we got from early spring of 20 was converted from, we got full forgiveness for that, so that turned into a grant. We haven't earned that that revenue is not in the first 3 quarters of 2021, but we're earning it up now in the last quarter, so that would be $20,000 for giving, and then $10,000 is going towards the youth, and so that'll be recorded in the fourth quarter of this year. So our expenses, our payroll, starting July 1st, Erlene, who Lee's mentioned, does all kinds of stuff. She received a 5% increase in her salary. Pastor Paul, who hadn't had a raise since he's been here, got a 3% increase starting July 1st. Our music team now, starting the fourth quarter, also has an accompanist, the music leader and accompanist. That costs us about $25,000 for the year. Property, the AC units, they replaced they're hail damage free now, and then of course the parking lot repair that has been mentioned, 4640. There was a special donation for that. The mortgage, Dick Tool played a big part in refinancing the mortgage. Went back to the company that I believe the original building was financed with, MIF, and because the mortgage with Trivent was due August 1st, like Lee mentioned, the whole 750,000, and it was due every 5 years. Well, now we're on a 20-year mortgage. We got a 20-year note. It's every 5 years they adjust the interest rate, but for the first 5 years the interest rate will be 3 7/8, and that's down from the 4 1/4 we were paying. The payment before was about $5,500. Now it's $4,500, and so we have the mortgage through 2041, 20-year mortgage, and the balance right now is about $740,000. And so there's no balloon. And then here's your results. You can see the 196 versus 2020, the 201. So we're down 5,300, but our spending was down from 194 to 199 in 2020, 5,000. So that washes out. We have a positive cash flow for the first 3 quarters of 2021, 1383, and it's very similar to 20, where we're down $291. So that's where we stand right now. We're positive. We're positive, yes. And very similar to 2020.
Thank you. Yes. No, we're yeah, and some of the units were put in what, Dick, 2004. Yeah, so great question. Thank you, Greg. I'd like to bring Emily up and talk about the music ministry now.
All right. So the first bullet says to collaborate with all to cultivate positive worship experiences. And so that's straight from my job description. It feels really heavy. But to me, that just means work from your heart. The second bullet is bring forth the musical talent of COJ's youth and children. So what I've been doing so far, that involves the Christmas program, Christmas music involved. The Christmas program is for elementary schoolers, and that's on a roll. And the Christmas music involvement of high schoolers. We're going to start Christmas music next week. It's the first week of Advent. We didn't get to do it at all last year. It's starting next week. And I'll be bringing in as many high schoolers as will learn the music and collaborate with me. I've also been collaborating a lot with adults as far as just the youth and the children, different adults doing costumes, scripts, set, playing instruments, and having rehearsals for the Christmas program and the Christmas season. The next bullet says plan, coordinate, and lead weekly rehearsals focused on collaboration. And I added focused on collaboration. We have been meeting at about 6 to bring people's ideas, people's different, what people want to input to the service. And then at 6:30, we start our formal rehearsal for music, and that's on Wednesday nights. It's really important for all of these singing events to be COVID friendly, COVID safe. I mean, I'm pregnant. I have a weakened immune system. And I know a lot of our kids weren't vaccinated before. They're getting vaccinated, but even my daughter still is too young. It's not approved for her. So, fans are set up, distances. We're trying to keep it safe, and I always try to keep that in mind. It's very important for me and for all of us. The next one is work with passion for the mission of COJ and the power of music in worship. again, work from your heart. And I think part of that really involves finding a passionate accompanist to work with us that wants to stay on board. We are very lucky to have Keith Jordan for now, and we're very lucky to be bringing in more like guitar talent and things. And I have to make sure I have all the music for that and all the paperwork for that. And I really appreciate Arlene and Pastor being on board with me for all of that. Just organizing, it's just a lot. And there's been a learning curve, and I've made some mistakes, but part of it is saying that you've made some mistakes and that you're ready to learn from that. And it's just been a few weeks so far. So we're still in that phase of a learning curve. The last thing I wanted to mention was coordinating with AV to improve the accuracy of the slideshow, the goal of prioritizing the positive music worship experience for the congregation, because I think that's really at the heart of it, right? That people who are in the congregation feel included. They feel like the slides are what they think they're going to be. They can follow the music. I want the congregation to feel like this is the time in their week when they can enjoy the music and connect spiritually to their own personal worship experience. You can't really do that if the slides aren't right. And I've made an extra meeting every week with Arlene. I come in every week and specifically make sure that that's how it should be, making a huge effort to. I've just noticed in the past that I was like, oh, that wasn't quite right, and I got confused, and I said an extra word, but the choir didn't say it because it wasn't on their music, but it was on the slide. And now that I'm involved, I can see where that's coming from. I'm trying to root that out. So other than that, your feedback is always welcome. You can email me or call me. I'm always available on Wednesdays all day long. And I come in early on Wednesday. Like this Wednesday, we'll be here at 4 to practice music for next Sunday since it's Thanksgiving break. And then I'm usually available around lunchtime throughout the week as well. That's kind of my availability. If you need anything, please give me feedback. Thank you.
Stephanie Schick with the Sunday School report.
So, children's Sunday school did continue for the most part throughout the whole pandemic. The first half of this year, we did Sunday school on Zoom. I think by that point we had all been doing a lot of Zoom, and it was okay. It was okay. It wasn't fantastic, but it was okay. Kids came, we prepared crafts ahead of time and sent them home, or I dropped them off at people's houses in advance, and then we would do our lesson, and it was okay. Now that schools have completely reopened with this year, we went back to doing Sunday school here. In the beginning, we were doing it before church, and then family said they'd prefer to have it after, so we've switched to doing Sunday school after church, and that's going great. I want to thank anyone who has volunteered to teach Sunday school. Do I have a list? No, I don't. That's okay. Anyone who's volunteered to teach. Oh, okay. Thanks, guys. Let's see. Kira, David and Carla Schick, Emily Montgomery. I thank all of you. Anyone else who wants to teach? It's really a fantastic experience. We've had about 3 to 5 kids, give or take, every week, and they're great kids. They're all friends. They support each other. They love each other. They share how they're feeling. They share what they're hearing in the Bible stories. So it's really kind of a wonderful experience. Coming in after Christmas, I'll be looking for more volunteers to teach Sunday school. If anybody is interested, contact me. It's really fun, and we have a nice curriculum. So otherwise, thank you for your support. The kids' programming is going pretty well.
All right, thanks, Stephanie. Next, we'd like to have Joyful Hearts. And Debbie, if you wouldn't mind coming up and giving us just a little brief.
Good morning. That's from the back, I can't read that. So uh, I guess I had a lot to say on one slide. But anyway, even though we were doing parking lot communion at the beginning of this year, and that's pretty much all I ever did, and then go home and watch the service, we still collected for Lutheran Family Services in a bucket outside for pillows and sheets. And then we finally got back into church, and Joyful Hearts took off running because we always have such a passion for some of the organizations that we support. So we have supported this year Haven House by collecting pajamas and snacks and activities. We supported Lutheran Family Services Refugee Program by running God's Work, Our Hands in September. And we did Feliz Navidad, making hats and scarves for Albuquerque Healthcare for the homeless. And then just this last month, we put a donation box out in the fellowship hall to collect money for Storehouse West. And as of that date, that I had to send that in, it was $31 we collected, but in actuality, we collected $671. So not only do I want to thank our Joyful Hearts officers, but also all our Joyful Hearts volunteers and our COJ members who just continually support all our endeavors. It's just been a wonderful 6 months. What can I say? It just feels good to be back. So thank you all.
Well done. Wow. All right. Neil, if you wouldn't mind coming up and giving us an idea on the fellowship side.
Hi, I'm Neil Shotwell, and I am the head of the fellowship team, or whatever we call it, director or something. I don't know, we have a name. But so we do snacks and treats and stuff in between services, which obviously has been not happening for a while, but we are trying to get ready to get started back up again. We did have a little bit of a welcome party for Pastor Hezron when he was here the one time. We had a little bit of a celebration and some food and snacks for the Sunday school kickoff and for Pastor Appreciation. So for larger events and things like that, we are starting to do things. There's lunch after the meeting today for you to either take with you when you leave, or to sit and eat here if you would like or prefer. We're trying to navigate the COVID right things to do. So everything looks a little bit different, but we are still trying to get things going. The kitchen, if you guys haven't seen it or you don't know, our kitchen is really kind of a coffee setup thing, but the sink in there has, the faucet wasn't long enough to reach all three sinks, and so you would have to bucket water into one sink or the other, or the underneath was always flooding and stuff like that. And so during the COVID shutdown, Erlene's son Charlie came in and really did a lot of work back there, and it's greatly improved and ready to go, and we're very grateful and excited about that. We are looking for volunteers. It's hard for us to start having treats or coffee or whatever every Sunday if there isn't anybody here to make it or put it away at the end or clean up or wipe the tables. So if you have, it in your heart or whatever, and you want to sign up to help 1 week a month or whatever, that would be great. And then we'll kind of start rolling back into fellowship. But otherwise, thank you guys for being so patient and always stepping in whenever I need a hand or whatever, because really it makes a big difference, and I really appreciate it.
Thank you, Neil. All right. So that's pretty much all of our ministries at this point. I'd like to announce the voting results. Jackie, do you have everything tabulated? Great news. Thank you, Jackie. We'll pass that on to Diane. And welcome to the team. Yep. So it was unanimous that the three candidates that were up for election have been voted in. So myself, Diane, and Karen will be recommitted to, or first committed to joining our council. So, question? Sure. Perfect. No, that's great advice, and we'll just hope that our Band-Aid stays secure for a while. Yeah, right. Okay. Thank you for that heads up. Yeah. Um, so I'd like to bring Pastor back up for our closing prayer, and this is going to be something we're going to read together, right?
Yeah. Thank you for that. I was on pins and needles, just with suspense on who was going to be elected. I thought it was going to be one of those elections where you get to wait a whole week and have to wake up in the morning and see what's CNN. But anyways, here we are. If you can read that, I know it's a little small, but we like to stand here. I invite you to stand as we say this prayer. I'm L, you're all, right? Okay. Lord, our Maker, another year has passed full of life and mission, full of joys and challenges. We have traveled through twists and turns that have stretched us beyond our wildest dreams. Remind us that you are with us still. Guide us into the future by your Holy Spirit. Lead us forward, O God, that we might be bearers of your life, healing, and joy for the sake of the food. Amen. And God bless the food we're about to eat. Amen. All right. Thank you for being here today. Thank you for those joining us online. And go get some sandwiches to eat here or take on your way as you go. Bless you all.